Everyone online these days is just talking about the Los Angeles Lakers, especially after Rob Pelinka acquired Russell Westbrook, Carmelo Anthony, and Dwight Howard.
Though, do you think that this team, as it's constructed, can win a championship?
I think they could. I wouldn't say.
In all honesty, if this was about 10 years ago, this would be perhaps one of the best teams ever assembled. And if David Stern were still around, with all of David's might and power as a commissioner, he'd either veto this trade or faint from disbelief. God bless his soul. Today, however, when I take a closer look at this new Lakers roster and a Warriors roster, I believe confidently that the Warriors are gonna be the team to beat in the West, and I predict if they were to match up in a 7-game series, the Warriors would probably win it over the Lakers in 5 or 6 games, so let's get down to it. I actually want to start with the Lakers lineup, and since we're talking about a playoff series, I'll limit this whole thing to 8 or 9 man rotations. For the Lakers, for the starting 5, you got Russell Westbrook and Wayne Ellington as the guards. For the 2 forward positions, you've got LeBron James and Anthony Davis. As for the center position, I'll insert Mark Gasol in. Coming off the bench, you've got Carmelo Anthony, Dwight Howard, Kendrick Nunn, and Malik Monk. Bazemore, THT, and Ariza could perhaps find their way into the playoff rotation, but I see those other 9 players as the Lakers' best 9. This Lakers team will, for the most part, be a half-court team. In an era where the 3-ball is king, the Lakers look like they'll lack a bit of 3-point shooting. But they do have size and can punish teams on the inside, especially with Anthony Davis. When it comes to experience, they'll have all the veteran experience you'll ever need, but man, the more and more I look at this team, the more I think about the 2012-2013 Lakers super team that, well, didn't really go as planned. I mean, you got Dwight Howard on the team, another one of the Gasol brothers, and a superstar who's a little out of his prime in LeBron James. Now, don't get me wrong here, guys. I'm not a LeBron or Lakers hater. I've actually been a big fan of LeBron for about a decade and enjoyed watching his championship runs in Miami, but nothing about this roster looks good except for the all-star power and big names. Next up, let's go over the Warriors playoff lineup. And again, since we're only talking about the playoffs, I'm going to go with an 8 or 9 man rotation. For the Warriors starters, you've got Stephen Curry, an MVP finalist and a 2021 scoring champion, Klay Thompson, the best catch and shoot player in NBA history, Draymond Green, a defensive player of the year finalist, Andrew Wiggins in his prime, and James Wiseman, a beast in the making. Coming off the bench, you have Jordan Poole, a 2022 6th Man of the Year finalist in my opinion, JTA, a hustle and bustle player who can do a bit of everything, and then here comes the hard part. Kevon Looney, Andre Iguodala, Justinian Jessup, Otto Porter Jr., or Nemanja Bjelica. And if the 2 lottery picks in Kuminga or Moody develop quickly, that gets even harder. Steve Kerr was recently asked if either of the 2 lottery picks are going to join the rotation for this upcoming season, and the Warriors head coach replied, "I think it's impossible to say one way or the other. You've got to see someone in practice every day to determine if they're ready to play or not. But I'm excited. They're both really good prospects. They both look the part for sure. I really respect the job that Bob Myers and Joe Lacob and the staff did." Moving on through for the sake of the video, let's say the last 2 Warriors on the playoff rotation are Otto Porter and Nemanja for shooting purposes. That is a crazy team. I mean, if Draymond and Wiseman can start hitting their open threes at anywhere between 35 to 40%, every Warrior in the rotation is going to be able to drop bombs at any point, at any time.
For the rebound.
But Wiggins made that tough again.
Steph, he just shot that from Fairfax.
I mean, Steph Curry and Jordan Poole can get by any defender using a screen, and with all the small ball movement going on, the Warriors are going to have a feast with all the shots they're going to have available. Either at an open 3, a floater in the paint, or a backdoor cut, the Lakers are going to have to pick their position when it comes to defending this team.
This time got a hand on it. Boy, active hands again from the Warriors. Poole explodes to the rim and finishes.
When it comes to the defense of the Warriors team, well, in 2021, they were a top 5 defensive team, and when it comes to 2022, I have no doubt they'll be improving upon that despite whatever firepower the Lakers can throw. The Warriors are going to make each possession tough on Laker Nation. Next up, I want to talk about the age of the wine and purple. Man, if this was 10 years ago, this would be the team to watch, but when playoffs come around next season, LeBron James is going to be 37, Russell Westbrook is going to be 33, Dwight Howard is going to be 36, Carmelo Anthony is actually going to be 38. Anthony Davis is the only superstar who's going to be in the midst of his athletic prime at 29. Mark Gasol is going to be 37, Wayne Ellington is going to be 34, Malik Monk and Kendrick Nunn are going to be 24 and 26. It just seems to me that the bulk of this team is going to be just a little too old to keep up with the Warriors team that relies on constant movement, and the Lakers are always going to feel like there are 7 Warriors on the court. Next up, remember that game against the Lakers in the play-in tournament? The Warriors, who were shorthanded without Clay, Wiseman, or Oubre at the time, almost won it against a fully healthy Lakers team, but unfortunately they missed a few shots late in the game and lost 103-100. Bob Myers told Jordan Poole and JTA after the game that game versus the Los Angeles Lakers was the equivalent of a Western Conference Finals game. It's a high-level game. Well, over the offseason, the Warriors got better and the Lakers, well, they got older. Next up, let's talk about a few of the key Warrior players who will determine the series. If Curry is on fire in that series, like how he went on fire in April, that series is going to be over before you know it. I mean, he's going to be even deadlier next season because with the return of Klay Thompson and the addition of Porter Jr. and Nemanjia, you can't really double-team Curry anymore. Otherwise, it's an open 3 to players who can shoot it at 40%. Andrew Wiggins and Draymond Green can guard LeBron and Anthony Davis effectively enough, not necessarily stopping them completely, but they can definitely slow them down as proved in their last matchup.
To make a play, waved everybody out of the way and took advantage of his matchup.
James to Davis. Davis goes right.
If LeBron and AD aren't getting their way, Russell Westbrook is going to try and take over the game. But he's a real low percentage shooter from both the field and the 3-ball. Last season, Westbrook shot 44% from the field and 31.5% from distance. If those are the percentages he's going to be putting up, then he'll be giving the Warriors a hand. Lastly, like I briefly mentioned earlier, the Warriors are just going to have too much firepower from 3-point range. Let's take a look at this carefully. Steph Curry last season shot the 3-ball at 42%. Klay Thompson, although he missed the last 2 seasons due to injuries, never shot under 40% in any of his 8 seasons in the league, and the man has a career average of 41.9% from deep. Some people may be saying stuff about his injuries, but let's hear what Steph Curry recently said about his fellow Splash brother. He's confident, he's energetic, he's in a good space mentally. I know that's what his expectations are. He's putting in the work. Once we get back to training camp, it'll be right at the end of his rehab progress. We can help him get over the hump and get him back there on the court. Andrew Wiggins shot the 3-ball last year at 38%, but with more open shots next season, I expect that average to go up. Draymond Green is committed to improving his shooting this offseason, and hopefully he'll return to his 2016 form where he shot 39% from deep. James Wiseman shot the 3-ball last season at 31.6%, but something tells me he'll be shooting it at around 35% this upcoming season. If he can combine that type of range with a little bit of DeAndre Ayton, I'm going to be drinking a whole lot of beer next year. Off the bench, Jordan Poole shot the 3-ball last season at 35%, JTA shot it at 40.2%, Otto Porter Jr. is a career 40.2% shooter from deep, and Nemanjia is a career 39% shooter from deep. There's just too many 3-point shooters on this Warriors roster, and since 3 is better than 2, I just don't see how the aging Lakers can beat the Warriors despite all those ESPN analysts saying the Lakers are taking the West. On another note, what I can wait for is to see Jonathan Kuminga develop. Man, if this dude can just level up a little faster, it's going to be GG, good night, bye Felicia for the entire league. If you want to know why, then click on this video right here where I go over how exponentially dangerous this Warriors team is going to be once Kuminga reaches just a fraction of his potential. Anyway, the video is right here, guys. Click it, watch it, enjoy it, and I will see you on the other side.